Good morning, Kamau. So happy to have you here with us on Wake Up Everybody virtual community. Our session is about to begin. You can start to welcome our community to the space.
All right, greetings and grand risings, family, Boo Nation. It's an honor to be here once again to be able to co-create this powerful experience centered around rites of passage. So as you're unwinding and getting prepared for the day, bring your journal, bring a pen, might want to take some notes, and be prepared to be fully present as we begin to experience our Sunday, get ourselves together to activate our mind, our body, our spirit, and be able to set some intentions for these powerful times that we're moving through. Once again, welcome as you continue to come into the space and get yourself something to drink, some tea, some water, whatever your preference might be, so that we can stay engaged in this co-creative process. So we want to welcome all of our Facebook Live family. We want to welcome those who are joining us via Zoom today. Good grand rising. All of those who are connecting into the space. I see you, Sister Stacy. I see you, Marie. Right. Honoring the great administrative team this morning who are going to be the pillars to anchor and co-pilot this experience. And today our session is centered around rites of passage trials. We're going to be looking specifically at trauma, isolation, and liminality as gateways to enlightenment. Those are the things that we would definitely not choose in our conscious mind sometimes as we're looking to evolve and grow and transform. But there's a powerful medicine that exists in those experiences that are critical to our enlightenment. Again, we are welcoming all of the family here in the Zoom world as well as the Facebook world.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Right, once again, family, welcome. My name is Kamau Ptah, and we are going to be co-creating a powerful experience once again today, centered around rites of passage, looking at trauma, isolation, and liminality as gateways to enlightenment. So to start off, I'm going to share our screen for today. And let's see. And when we thinking about this, we're really thinking about this idea of rites of passage. Many people associate it with the ceremonial aspect of the transition and the celebration that happens. And really, one of the more critical areas is centered around the initiations themselves, right? The trials, and those areas that you go through in order to earn your status or your privilege. If we're talking about the adolescent rite of passage, earning the title of being a young man or young woman. So if we're thinking about this in terms of some uh, workable definitions for our discussion today, I'd like to be able to share a little bit of the definitions that that have been anchors in some of the work that I've done, particularly in the educational arena. And looking at rites of passage being an intense educational and life experience that help guide people to an enlightened inner knowing state of awareness about their personal powers and indwelling strengths, right? Often associated with the initiation or rite of passage is this symbolic death that takes place. And that is when the initiate or a student transforms and embraces calling that leads to new privileges and responsibilities. There is many regards an ego death. There is an exhaustion and a recognition that certain areas of life no longer serve at this particular stage that you're about to enter into. And so therefore, there is a metaphoric death that takes place, right? And these stages of growth are really centered around helping people to actualize the divine design of their lives, a mission, a purpose, and become wiser and stronger once they have experienced this passage, right? And just to establish some voices of the indigenous, because many here, if it's here in the Western Hemisphere, might not experience the formal initiation or rites of passage. And I wanted to share some voices centered around the whole initiation experience from two elders within the indigenous African community, both of West Africa. And it's really important because when we think about our own personal journeys, we sometimes disregard the experiences that we've had that are informal, which have been equally and sometimes more challenging than a formalized experience. Many of the formal experiences are preparing us for the real life experiences that will navigate through life. Right? And so Elder Malidoma Somé, the Gara shaman, author of the Water and Spirit. Some of you may be familiar with that book. He's also written The Healing Wisdom of Africa. His comments are: initiation is simply a set of challenges presented to an individual so that he or she may grow. Consequently, the troubles we encounter in our paths in the modern world are in essence initiatory to the extent that each of them is life-changing, right? And he has also, because he's lived in outside of his village and context in the continent, and has lived in the Americas, he has recognized that if we are able to observe some of the critical challenges in our lives, and those deep areas that have completely ripped us and taken us out of our comfort zone, that we can assign that as being initiatory as well. And then Yaya Diallo here to the right, who is a Minyanka, is the Minyanka Fula ethnic group in Mali. He says initiations were created in our culture expressly to help people realize new strengths within themselves by surmounting difficulties and voluntarily enduring suffering. Initiations are designed to enlarge the initiate's vision and the world. In Minyanka, the word initiate implies to die. Through the trials of the initiation, old routines are broken and the initiate moves on the next stage, right? Again, so this idea of death, the metaphoric death, this idea of exhausting particular phases out of your life, right, and entering into a new identity are all central to this process. So then the question, family, that comes to mind for you today that I'd like for us to explore and engage. So what experiences have been rites of passage or initiations in your life? You can speak about that from a formal standpoint if you were fortunate enough to participate with Sister Shawnee or any other experience. We know that we have spiritual rites or religious rites. We know that there are many different experiences that facilitate this radical transformation that happens to a human when they go through the process. So let's hear from you all. And you could either, if you feel comfortable placing it in the chat, or you can come off mic and share. And also Facebook, we'd love to hear from you as well. We'd be able to share your comments in the Zoom space. All right. So we see, oh yes, definitely parenting. See, thank you, Carmen. And sweetness, we said giving birth by way of surgery, right? Wow. Okay, so yeah, so I see Sweetness, Sister Sweetness, come on and share a little bit about your journey in terms of giving birth.
Wow.
Sister, your voices sounded like the chipmunks.
At first I was like, wait a minute, is that a baby? Sweetness, I don't know if we can resolve the sound issue, but that gave us a chuckle this morning. So try again, sis. I muted you just in case we can recalibrate this and get it going with clarity. So try again. Oh no, you still sound like a chipmunk. So you might have to go out and come back in. We'll try the sound again. Alrighty. So, Brother Kamau.
And so if anybody else would like to share any experiences that have, again, formally or informally, that have represented rites of passage or initiation in your life.
Alrighty. So I know you mentioned Carmen's share earlier. So Carmen, if you can come off mute, and then let me see, Stacy. I haven't heard your beautiful voice in a while, Stacy Evans. So if you can share your rite of passage experience, that would be great too. So Carmen, you ready? Carmen. I'm inviting you to unmute if you see the prompt.
Hey, yeah, I'm like actually trying to get into the airport right now. This is kind of a rite of passage in and of itself, but I would say like parenting, becoming a parent, is a daily like every time I think about the action of becoming a parent, that was a rite of passage for me. Moving away to college was a rite of passage for me, and I also did experience like more formal rites of passages when I was growing from girlhood to womanhood.
All right, thank you for sharing that, sister. That's very important. And the parenting passage really tests you to your core. It's one of those experiences that allow you to have to show up to the mirror on a daily basis and say, am I really authentically being present, and am I making a decision to envision an aspirational self, a legacy plan, or am I passing down wounds, right? And those are really critical when we're experiencing the parenting process. And then thinking about the socialization of your own child in the midst of the culture that we are living in, You know, those are some of the critical questions that and decisions, daily decisions that we have to make, particularly in the midst of sometimes a toxic culture that our children are growing up in, right? And so I see Candace said migration to the United States from Jamaica, a migration rites of passage of a Black girl. Wow, that's powerful. And if you will be willing to share that, that's the sister that's in the airport though, right?
That was Carmen that's in the air.
Oh, okay. So
And
Candace.
Stacy, but you said Candace too. So Candace, if you're willing, you can come on. And then Stacy, are you there?
Stacy's in the shower.
Morning. Morning.
Oh,
Morning.
all right.
Grand rising to everyone. I hope you can hear me. Yes, coming to the United States in 1983 as a little Black girl from Jamaica, West Indies, was definitely a rite of passage. It was the typical quest for a better standard of living, and filled with adventure and excitement in the beginning in terms of, you know, what to expect. I didn't know what to expect, and I had the image of the United States being everything that anyone would want, and I didn't realize then the gems that I was leaving behind in my island. So it was a rite of passage. In retrospect, I see that more clearly than I did when I was 13 and making that trip at the behest of my parents. You know, my parents thought it was the right time because of what was going on politically and economically in the island for us to migrate. And in the end, I guess it works out. But when I return, when I go home to Jamaica, I always have a sense of that I have missed out so much on my island, and there's so much to learn and reconnect with there, you know. But it was definitely, as I sit here today, I recognize it was definitely a rite of passage to travel the Caribbean Ocean and to cross over it by air, but to travel that path to get to a new world. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. I had a question, just a follow-up, Sister Early. Was it, could you speak about some of the trials that you experienced, that you felt were, now that you look back on it, essential to your becoming process? Thinking about some of the experiences that you might have had as a teenager, and you know how you navigated that, and what were some of the lessons learned through the trial?
Certainly, off the top of my head, what comes to mind is the pull to assimilate, you know, the pull to become like others in order to survive. I spoke with an accent because I was from the Caribbean, and entering junior high school, when you dress differently, look differently, my hair is natural. And the accent alone made me an other, you know. So I had to learn the lingo in order to be accepted. And over time, I can certainly, you know, go in and out of the Jamaican accent. But in the beginning, you know, I was just a little girl with a Jamaican way of speaking. And so that, and the way that I dressed, because I did not have, I actually came over by myself without my family in the beginning, and stayed with my sister's father and stepmom. And so I, you know, I had to navigate that as well. So I was othered in that experience. Some of the good things that happened, however, was that I was guided by a teacher, Miss Jacobs, who took me under her wing. And my first winter gave me turtlenecks to keep me warm. and did other awesome things to, make me continue to grow. She pointed me in the direction of the ABC program, a Better Chance program, and I was able to go to boarding school via her assistance. So there were good things that happened as well. But I was definitely an other doing that, at the end of that flyover to this country. Behaved myself like a good West Indian girl. My mom worked very diligently and left us alone on the weekends, and my brother and I stayed inside. When my mother finally came, I jumped years for that to happen. We navigated the best we could and are good people for it. But it was a challenge.
Absolutely. Well, we give thanks and praise for your share. Big up on yourself.
It come from the heart. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. So yes, we would like to also hear from anyone else who shared in the chat. It sounds like people have had some rich and powerful initiatory experiences, whether formal or informal. And I see Zakia, as well as Sister Wali, who, yeah, there we go. So I see your hand, sister. You can come off.
Have Abimbola Wali, who has
Yes.
her hand.
Okay.
Yes,
Beautiful.
yes, peace and blessings. I was actually I've been through two life-changing experiences. 52 years ago, I joined an organization called the East and found out about my African ancestry and identity and changed my lifestyle. Grew a natural hairstyle, changed from perm to natural, and started wearing African clothing and learning about my tradition. And then 43 years ago, I was initiated into the Khan spiritual order, and I changed my religious practice from being a Christian to African tradition, which I still embrace to this day. And so the initiation by the late Nana Oparabia from Ghana Latte in West Africa, and I received the marks of the shrine and the medicine of the shrine. And I belong to a spiritual house, and we partake in religious practices and cultural and political practices. So that's been life-changing. And this year I'll be 76 years old. And I've held firm to those beliefs, raised my daughter under that value system, and life-changing. So I understand about rites of passage on different levels. And one other thing is, belonging to the East organization 52 years ago, belonged to a sisterhood, an East sisterhood. And we do a lot of things together, and we are lifelong sister friends. And I'm complete.
Well, thank you so much, sister. That was powerful. And I just wanted to acknowledge your ability to hear that call. And, when I think about our socialization and our experiences here, and to be able to have an opportunity to be initiated within an indigenous 1,000-year legacy of a particular spiritual system and way of life, that is very intriguing and just a powerful testimony for us to be able to, because that was something that was never intended for us to be able to reclaim an identity with such pillars of that represent our legacy. So I honor and salute you and thank you for your share. Right. Anybody else would like to be able to enter into the space and give a reflection around your passage experience? I saw a couple of people, Sister Teresa Scott, you wouldn't mind sharing this morning.
Hi, good morning, family. How you doing?
Great.
Having a baby at 16 was a serious, this rites of passage and just a whole way of living, because for some reason in my mind, when I was a little girl, I always said I wanted to have a baby at 16. I never knew, like what I was doing, what I was saying, and really and compared. And me and my son went through a lot of stuff during that time, because I didn't know what I was doing with having a baby at 16. And I didn't feel like when I was growing up with him, I didn't feel like he was my baby. I felt like he was my mother's baby more than he was my baby. And so, we were like in a competition sometime with him. And it wasn't until recently, last year, when I was in the womb, that I realized, all the stuff that I had went through, because not only did I have a baby at 16, but I had a C-section at 16. And just the way I was handled during the pregnancy and different stuff was really, traumatic. And so being in the womb last year, just being in the womb period, really has given me a lot of answers for my life about, my rites and passions and stuff like that. And even recently, just being in a situation where I'm standing up for myself. I'm sorry, I should have turned the camera on. Please forgive me. Standing up for myself, and just saying no to certain things in life that I have been saying yes. So the woo has been a great rites of passage for me, because a lot of stuff that I thought was that I thought about myself wasn't a good thing, but now I'm loving and embracing on me. And then the other thing that I talked about was leaving the church that I had been in for 20 years, and I still have issues with some of the issues of the church of being thing, because last year they had told me that I had they thought I had stage 3 cancer. And when I told someone recently who's a Christian, I said to them that I had people from all walks of religion praying for me. And I said that, there was a woman that was a Buddhist. So he said to me, well, I don't want nobody, that's a Buddhist. I said, well, that's your business. You can ask whoever, you could do whatever you want to do, but they're telling me, since that that I might have to get all this stuff done to my body. And so whoever wants to send healing, love, or whatever they want to do that's going to get the job done, I want it. So, you just be quiet and, mind your business, So I felt good that I was able to stand up, because what I learned too, and being in the woods, that so much spiritual religions, or, higher power, whatever, however the people, we are so similar, but yet we are fighting each other and don't understand that. And even like with the African cultures, like there's so much stuff that I learned about, my blackness that I never learned, before. And so I'm experiencing so many different cultures and stuff now, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I'm just learning about different cultures and spiritual connections, different things, just understanding different things about religion that I never understood, because for one, I don't think I was open. And then I wanted to know, but I was in a culture who just said, that wasn't of God, and that was the devil worship and stuff like that. So, to come to this place is, just a beautiful place for me. And I'm still growing. I'm still, like what do you call it? Like debunking some of the stuff and things that, I haven't been taught, So, but life is a beautiful thing, and I just want to enjoy it to the fullest. And so, whatever I can learn, I can gain, I want to gain. And so I don't want to have my mind so limited to one thinking or one culture or one religious experience to say, oh, that's the only one that I could just, serve. And so, and I'm complete.
Wow. Yeah, thank you so much, Sister Teresa, for sharing that powerful And what I hear in your voice is, you know, a sense of self-determination. And it's clear that you experiencing the trials have helped you to really cultivate a mission and a voice and some clear direction. It sounds like you've been able to establish certain boundaries and a barometer in terms of what's really important to you. And again, these are what these trials help you to be able to do, is come up with a certain level of confidence and a surety in your own particular mission and purpose. You know, so I will acknowledge you and thank you again for sharing, Sister Teresa. Right. I saw Mother Sweetness as well as Mother Wendy. So we're going to go with Mother Sweetness and see if we've been able to, you know, come out of the chickmunk voice.
Mother Sweetness.
Yes. That's what
That's clear?
Yeah, I see K Sweetness.
No, I'm just saying my voice is clear now.
Oh, yes. It's clear. You're good to go. Yes.
Okay. So good to hear your voice. And so my heart has been a little heavy for the children. And so when you were talking about rites of passage earlier, I went to the children in us as we've been learning, as I've been learning in this community about addressing and taking care of the little person in us. So we have the children that are children, and then that's that little person in us that needs caring for. And so what I was thinking was that if we went through the rites of passage, automatically or in the process of it, that little child in us that tends to, you know, children run around and do things not knowing what the consequences may be. And sometimes that little child runs our life, and then we're in the grips of chaos and such. So I was feeling that going through the rites of passage would be healthy, helpful, to take care of that little child that tends to rise up in grown-up situations. That's what was on my heart, and I wanted to share with the community because children have been on my heart. They stay on my heart, and they've been on my heart. And today, this day, this rising, I'm feeling to include the little child in the grown-up in us.
Thank you.
Complete.
I receive that, and I'm sure the community receives that as well. You know, many of the work that we do, once we enter into what we would consider to be an adult, as in terms of chronology, you know, is a lot of time spending taking care of the wounded child within, that potentially if they had some rich type of a socialization experience and a spiritual experience where the affirmation that might have been missing within a context, and we've seen that happen within, you know, our communities, where there might have been, you know, some children who really needed our attention, and community sensibility and way of being was able to support that. But I appreciate you being able to acknowledge the child within all of us, and to give permission for that child to be affirmed, acknowledged, nurtured, you know, and given an opportunity and a space for them to be able to embrace the next stage of their lives. I see Mother Wendy's hand. Welcome, Mother Wendy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. So I placed in the chat that marriage was a rites of passage for me. And, you know, no one prepared you for what was expected of you, especially in the traditional Christian marriage, you know. And even the whole ceremonial part of the marriage, the white dress and all of that, and giving up your name, and be adopting the name of your spouse, it's a transition. And then what the expectations within the marriage, that to me was a real rites of passage learning. You find out so much about yourself within the relationship, and sometimes not sometimes, and you find out so much about the other person, some things you weren't prepared to. So having gone through that rites of passage twice and don't seem to get it together yet, because the second one is ending. So that was the one for me. And I feel like if life is a series of rites of passages, because it was marriage and then giving birth, and like Sister Candice, transitioning from Trinidad to the US, but in my case as an adult, which is a different experience as a child, and coming with all these expectations about America and being blindsided, having to work in fields that you would never do back home just to survive, and nothing illegal, but and so for me, I see my life as having a series of rites of passages. It never ends, really. It just keeps going. So then the formal rites of passage would be the tree, which was an experience for me at age 67. Wow. And that was also a very life-changing experience, unearthing all kinds of stuff that caused me to present myself in the world the way I was doing, So that was one. And divorce is a rites of passage, So those are the ones that I could identify that I have been through, and I'm complete.
Right. Thank you, Mother Wendy. That was, again, we're all in tune and recognizing some of these stages and phases. And fortunately, within our culture, we've been able to have frameworks that help us to be able to process these different stages and phases of life. And we also recognize that those phases and stages give us certain powers and certain wisdom that once we endure, particularly the trauma or the trials, sometimes the feeling of going through something where you're alone, and that this challenge has been customized for your own level of growth and evolvement, right? Those are the things that are really significant. So I'm gonna start to place the back in the share. Share again the screen, and to the next area. Second, please. Okay, and those who might have been present before, there are phases of the rite of passage that I'd like to take a look at for your review. And again, this is not in a a linear fashion, right? These are the different stages that happen, right? So there's the call, right, that takes place. Something calls you to the rites of passage. That might be, in a formal sense, the call of an invitation to be initiated, or in a life experience, it would be maybe a challenge being placed in front of you that shows up as a way for you specifically to now begin to resolve an issue, right? That is significant to you and sometimes others, which is all that. So the call defines the big picture ideals of this particular rites of passage journey in a formal sense. Then we have the ritual, right? Once you kind of answer the call, then there are rituals, routines, norms that are established, right? And then again, in the formal sense, you know, the power of ritual or what it does to help us to begin to take on the call and develop the attributes, the mindset, and the values that will allow you to be able to execute the call. Right? Then what really launches you into the experience, usually the trauma and the isolation period. So this is revolves some level of separation. So in a formal sense, you know, so many of us might have seen or remember Roots when Kunta Kinte was pretty much abducted and he was taken to a remote area for a certain extended period of time that formalized his rites of passage experience. You know, but in our own lives, sometimes when we go through a certain level of trauma, we feel like we might be by ourselves in that situation, and we're experiencing it and we don't have any level of connectivity. And even if we do, sometimes we still feel alone in our silence of that. It's not until we start to vocalize where we might start to attract more people who might be able to relate and support us in helping in that situation. The liminal period is, you know, you're being tried and tested and it seems like you're being overwhelmed by life. It's a very awkward experience because you just don't feel like there is that you are losing self and you're not near where you are going. You feel a sense of loss. You recognize that you're no longer who you once were, yet you at the same time you are not who you're going to be in many respects. You don't even know what that begins to look like, right? This is a very exhausting time frame where you are tried on so many different levels and that you don't feel like you're experiencing a lot of success. Right? And then enlightenment comes, and that is a period where you start to recognize that, again, you would never have chosen some of the traumatic experiences in a conscious state, but there's a certain value in the enlightenment where you recognize what the trials were attempting to teach you. And you recognize that without those trials, you would not have attained the knowledge, the wisdom, and some of the powers that you possess. The celebration that comes after the enlightenment is just a recognition of those strengths, those gifts, that you have arrived to a sense of purpose, and then from a community standpoint, that you will now be charged with privileges and responsibilities, whether that's within your new status, whether that's being considered an adult, whether that's being a part of a new community. You are recognized for the trials that you were endured, the tests that you passed, the qualities that were cultivated during that experience, and now the mission that you have. And then the reincorporation is you entering into life again, into your family, community, dynamic with this newfound sense of power, recognizing that you have the skills, the mindset, and the values to be able to contribute what is your gifts and your purpose, right, to community. So that represents the phases. So we are going to move on and take a look at the next slide. Let's see. Stop share for a second. It looked like it was freezing a little bit. Okay. All right. So we took a look at the phases, right? I'd like to open up the conversation to identifying what phases of rites of passage are you currently experiencing, right? I gave some potential categories of life to look at, and then I'll go back to looking at the phases, but based off of this, you're in your spiritual journey and your spiritual identity, what phase would you say that you are regarding your mental health and your emotional well-being, your family and relationships, what phase, your finances, career, your purpose-driven life. Do you feel like you're centered and really on your purpose, and your legacy plan? You know, in these categories or any other that comes to your mind that represents the phases of a rites of passage, where would you say that you are? Are you at the call, you know, involved in the ritual? Are you experiencing trauma and isolation? Are you at the liminal phase, you know, experiencing enlightenment? And know that at any particular stage, it doesn't necessarily, you can be in multiple stages all at once. And what today we're looking to offer is just really looking at this from as a barometer to assess your own life, so that you have some context to what you might be experiencing. And believe me, it doesn't take away any of the challenge of it, or, you know, whatever the phase represents. It doesn't take away from it, but it does give you an idea, which allows you to be able to approach life with an understanding of what you're going through. Right. So if we want to share, whether that's in the chat or come off mic, think about, you know, some of the categories of your lives, some of the areas of your lives, and see if you can contextualize it by the phases of the rites of passage. What phase are you in certain areas of your life? Okay, I see Teresa. Yes. And if anybody who shared would like to come off mic, and if there's any new voices, we'd like to have you share as well. And what phases or stages in the category of your life, those specific things that we have to show up to, what is the area of, or the phases that represent those particular areas?
I like to share, Kamau.
Thank you, Brother John.
You're welcome. As I look at the phases there, I see myself experiencing like 7 of those 10 phases right now. It's not just one for me.
Well, go ahead. Talk about one of them.
Talk about one of them. Let's see. Emotional well-being. And emotional well-being comes for me with mental health and spiritual, and my spiritual journey, and finding a balance, emotional balance as I go through those 3 phases. They all come as one for me. To expand a little bit about the emotional health, it is just, you know, where the stress and anxiety, and I know that stress, I believe, is when you're feeling stress. Depression is like you're thinking about maybe the past. I believe anxiety is thinking of the future. So, you know, just having to, thank you for pulling that back up, just having to find the balance there and living in the now, in the present, and accepting what is. You know, as I'm 50 years old now, and I've had a whole life experience. I've, you know, as with Candace Shear, coming from the Caribbean, I think Zaki had mentioned something similar. But that travel and coming here and going through that, and I think at every stage of life, there's a little bit of all of those phases that come into play, because we're constantly, like, I find that, like, I'm always, like, in a sense of reinventing myself as I go through these phases, and the mental health and emotional balance are the things that stand out most for me as I go through any phase.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, because, you know, those are the areas that are truly challenged on when you go through any particular change or major transformation. That's your mind as well as your emotions, and 2 of the critical areas of any initiatory experiences enduring pain and confronting fear. Right, those are some of the pillars that kind of are formally tested, and when you're in life, those are some of the areas that will be tested, right? So again, the question is, what area in your life represents one of these phases of your journey? So I see people in the chats. Go ahead.
Should be really concentrated.
I think that somebody's off mute.
Right.
When you start.
Let's invite someone to share, Kamau. And
Okay.
in the chat, I see Althea Charles says she is I am in the trauma/isolation phase. Althea, would you like to expand and share on that?
Good morning. I'll be on camera in just a few minutes, but yes, I would like to expand. I've experienced a trauma last year, June, that just has left me a bit feeling stagnant in moving forward. Find myself trying to contemplate every decision that I have to make in regards to my life, professionally, socially, with friends and family. I've even questioned my own spirituality as well. And just to kind of enhance on what Brother John had spoke about, just finding that balance between my depression and my anxiety, not living too much in the past or rushing too much in the future, but trying to find peace in the now is kind of challenging, and I continue to work every day to see if I can be better at that. But I find myself feeling angry that I'm in this phase because I'm normally able to get over things very easily. I understand that life isn't always what I may presume it to be, but it can sometimes get challenging when my mind is, my emotional world is shaky. I feel like I go through a lot of transitions. My biggest transition was coming to this country at 16. I was 2 weeks before my 17th birthday, and having to go back to school, learning a new school system, learning a different way of life, and trying to assimilate and also still keep a sense of, home within myself from coming from South America. And I often find myself wavering between my past and now, and also my future. I always tend to want to get things done before I'm actually getting it done instead of being here in the moment. So the trauma isolation phase for me actually is very intense because it's like I want to get out of this phase. I want to go back into being who I was before, but I also realize that I'm no longer that person in many ways, especially in the ways of how I think and how I feel emotionally, and trying to show up in this new light has been challenging for me because I feel so vulnerable. I feel like the trauma that I have experienced before, even though it's not always present, it creeps up and those doubts are right there. And I guess it's just being patient and finding the right tools to get through this passage that I'm dealing with.
Sister Althea, I want to thank you for your vulnerability, which is what I've observed in the woo space, medicine. So I thank you for sharing that. I did have a question in terms of, what the dilemma that you're experiencing, some of the challenges and the trials. Do you see a possibility as an invitation to something? And what do you feel that maybe life might be inviting you to, or these experiences might be inviting you to?
I think life is inviting me to live, to accept and forgive my past, and be content with my present, but I am learning how to allow that inner child to be free, to know that the love that I need sometimes cannot be given to anyone cannot be given from anyone but myself. Some things are going to be things that me as an adult can use to soothe or to comfort that inner child and the trauma that shows up. And I guess just having the courage to want to enjoy the fruits of my labor, the fruits of life, and to be flourish in that sense.
Right, right. So thank you. I wanted you, before we transition, to really consider what those areas that allow you to be able to show up fully present. And oftentimes, as I mentioned earlier, it's usually in ritual practice. So, really honoring and being able to show up present and be fully present to the medicine of ritual as a way of being able to release as well as make new declarations. And so, as you're examining your life and thinking about those things, I really would encourage you to think about authentic rituals that are, essential to you and allow you to be able to do whatever it is in terms of being able to release and once that happens, as well as to be able to restore. Right? But again, I truly value your share today, and I'm sure that others also who have navigated the trauma and the isolation recognize that as well. So it is now 7:55, family, and we know that some of you have to make your exit and you're getting your day started, have some spaces and places to show up. So want to give you the time to be able to transition and enjoy the rest of your day. Go out here and continue to show up and cross the thresholds that are present in your life, as well as participate in the celebration. Very critical to the rites of passage once you go through and have earned the new status and the new responsibilities and the new privileges that you earn. All right. And also at this particular time, I saw Amal's hand up. You ready to share?
Yeah, and I didn't think I had anything to share, but I realized my rites of passage, and I never really thought of it that way, was my relationship with my daughter. It started out with, okay, she lives over there, I live over here, that is cool. I don't even want the twain to meet. And then something happened in her life that she called, she said, Ma, I really need a place to stay. Well, you can't have your children out on the street. So I said, okay, my house was just big enough for me, had a bedroom where I put my office and jewelry making stuff, and everything was set. It wasn't a whole lot of stuff in here. And when she said that, I thought, oh my God, that was the beginning of my rites of passage with her. And here we went through our stages. And at this point, I'm in celebration. I'm accepting her exactly where she is, exactly how she is. No criticism. All I do is just pray, that she gets what she needs out of this lifetime, and just hold her in a space. So we're at celebration.
All right.
She went out of town, and I actually missed her. And when she came home, she said, Ma, did you miss me? I said, yeah. She said, I missed you too.
Oh, that's
that
wonderful.
never would have been said before. So I thank you. I never thought of it as a rites of passage.
Right.
So I'm complete.
Right. Can I, Sister Maul, ask you one follow-up question, just
Sure.
in terms of what were some of the trials, and for you, what was that might have created that dissonance, with your daughter?
The biggest thing is that she is alcoholic. and she's in denial about that. And I really had to accept that where she is, at one point I would constantly say, you need to get help. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to get off alcohol. And it would really cause a lot of friction because that's not where she was. Now she goes in her room. She does whatever she does in there. I don't see her half the night, which is fine. I just hold her in prayer and just say, you know what? She is where she is. She's doing what she's doing. And there's, I just hold her in prayer. But that's a biggie. And alcoholism runs through the family, and I don't even want it in my life, but here it is. So I'm still addicted to something since she's, there, except that I'm healing that.
Mhm.
If you get my drift.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And in terms of being able to get to that space of acceptance, I think that we could all benefit from knowing how you were able to earn that ability to be able to accept.
So I had to think, okay, I'm right about what alcohol does. I am right. But do I want to be right, or do I want to be happy and content and have a peaceful home, to have a peaceful space here to where she can eventually heal that and grow, or, whatever. And my choice was, okay, as long as she's in the house, she's doing it in the conference, in the protection of the house and in her own space. She doesn't go out and do all of that anymore. So I accepted that as a win.
Ashe, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Right. All right. So if we'll take one more, as we're thinking about the phases of the rites of passage and connecting it and aligning it, with our own experiences, and finding out what some of the predominant stages or phases we might be experiencing right now. Anybody? Let's see if we can get any takers from, I see Terry. Terry, want to share, Sister Terry?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I've been going through several phases, but one phase that I'm going through is I have joined the admin team for WU, and it has taken me totally out of my comfort zone. So, but I'm hanging in there because I know I'm going to get it. But it's been extremely mentally challenging for me because I like to get things right away. And that's not quite happening for me right now. I do have a lot of support. I'm very appreciative of the support, but I realize that I'm totally out of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
I'm hanging in there. I'm not quitting. I'm hanging in there.
Don't, Sister Terry, don't. You're capable. This is a voluntary in terms of you being able to respond to a call, and it is expanding you, and it's taking you beyond your comfort zone, right? And through it, what's gained from that? And once you master that in one particular area, it becomes transferable to other areas of your life. The process becomes the valuable jewel in it all, because once you have that affirmation that you've been able to do it, and you have an experience that builds that for you, then it becomes transferable. So, and you are with a powerful, phenomenal team of teachers and facilitators. They're gonna get you right. So again, a couple people are checking out, and so we send you peace, and again, enjoy your day. Right, and we're gonna now move to another slide, and we're gonna break out into groups, and we're gonna respond to this particular question here. Oops, sorry. Okay. Describe a major challenge that you have overcome in your life. Based on what we have discussed, how was this a rite of passage? What did the experience teach you? How did you integrate the lesson into something you apply today? Right, and so some of we shared some of the major areas we were able to share, and so again, this will be a opportunity for you to talk amongst yourselves about what was an area in your life that was difficult, that showed up, something that was challenging, something that, as Terry mentioned, took you out of your comfort zone. And you're going to reflect on that and thinking about what our discussion has been today, you know, be able to connect it to it being a rite of passage for you and really gleaning from the lessons that it taught you, and then the indelible lesson of how it applies in your life today, with indelible, enduring lesson and how it lives in your experience today. Right. So, phenomenal crew. I'd like for us to be able to break off into groups and transition into the question. And we're gonna stay on for can we do 10 minutes?
John Carl, 10 minutes for the breakout. We can make the adjustment on our end, it's not a problem. You still
Okay.
want people per breakout based on the number of participants in the space?
It looks, I'm looking at the time too, so let's do 4 in a room.
No problem. Let me just work on this. Okay. And what I'm gonna ask is if an admin team person is placed in the room, and we can make whatever adjustments we need to come out of it, if we need to.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Okay, so y'all have the instructions that we can share and have the Facebookers participate?
Okay, I am back. I wanted to make sure that the group I was with had the questions before I left.
All right, you can stay. I can type in the share, just share with Facebook what the instructions are. And then in this space for us, and then I'll type it in so that the breakout members can get it too.
Okay, so the question is, describe, or the exercise is, describe a major challenge that you have overcome in your life. Based on what we've discussed so far, or what Kamau have discussed so far, why would you consider what you described as a rites of passage? What did the experience teach you, and how do you integrate the lessons into your daily life?
So can one of you start?
Why don't I start?
Yeah.
Okay. Rites of passage. Like what we heard so far, traveling to, for me, coming from Barbados at 18 to the USA and moving to New York. Coming from Barbados is nice and sunny. To New York, I came to New York, I believe it was like in October or November. So it was cold. That was a shock for me. I heard it was, but to experience it was like I was not prepared. I wasn't dressed warm enough when I got up came out of the airport. So I immediately felt that chill. Then coming here now that I'm, and I'm aware of the challenges I had back then, coming here with this communication challenge, I didn't have a high school diploma at the time, and I was actually here as an alien, migrated here. And trying to find work. My first job was my first job was sewing. I'm a designer. I was making clothing. I was doing alterations at a shop in Brooklyn, and I was right next to the window. No insulation, so I was freezing to death. Now, this was all a very traumatic thing. Again, living with a challenge and no friends, a few family here, but no friends, no community as such. Learning how to be innovative in that was something that I integrate in my life now. Adding my character, always friendly and smiling. I spoke to everyone, even the people that others would say you don't speak to, or you watch them guys over there. I'll walk right up to the group and talk to them, just being open. So that is something I continue to integrate in my life, and doing that, not knowing that I had a communication challenge. So just trusting what spirit told me to do. And at the time, I'm not even sure if I understood it as spirit, but I was just going with the flow, regardless of what other people experiences are. And I still do that. I walk into those dark areas. I want to say that I've recognized that part of my gift and my journey is that I go into these dark areas, and I have friends who are gangsters and done some of the worst things, but and I call them friends because when I interact with them, I become like family, and I'm able to offer a sense of hope. I've got feedback from friends I've had for 25 years that was like, man, you go to these places that we wouldn't dare go, and one guy said that he lives through my experiences in these places. So it's about, just for me, adding light, and just daring to walk where others fear or have concerns. I'm complete.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'll go next. So when I gave birth to all three of my children, I experienced postpartum depression. With my second daughter, it was really severe. And with the first and second child, I experienced symptoms that are talked about in reference to like more serious mental illness, like schizophrenia, or like the bipolar, like when you go to extreme lows or extreme highs, you can experience delusions. So the first pregnancy after I gave birth to my daughter, there was like a voice telling me to go get her out of the nursery and like run. And I didn't act on it, but it was very present, and it was very overwhelming, weird experience of having like an interloper, this energy come through, and the what do you call it, coaxing me to do stuff. I also had an aversion to her dad, but I hid it, like, inside internally. I felt like I didn't want him to pick her up. I definitely didn't want other people to do that. It went away. It lasted for about a week and a half, but that was very scary, coming out of it and recognizing that that had happened to me. And then the second pregnancy, after I gave birth, I went into preterm labor. So I delivered in the 7th month. She had a birth defect. She had to have surgery. She was in the hospital 30 days. And it took 2 years for me to come back to myself. And there were moments where it was like, hurt yourself, hurt the baby. It was very, very overwhelming and scary. And I'm grateful that I'm still here. But what I learned about mental illness, which runs in my family on my mother's side, is that, first of all, it's real. And, when folks talk about, like when I think about people who shoot up schools, and I think about folks who do these like really heinous things, and people judge, and they're like, what kind of a human being would do that? Like, if I would have succumbed to what was happening to me, especially after the second pregnancy, I would be one of those mothers that they would say, she killed her baby. And what kind of a mother does that? And I have such compassion for people who suffer from mental, I'm careful about the word suffering, but who are dealing with mental illness and have delusions, hallucinations, or just don't feel like themselves. And how I incorporate that in my life is I'm a licensed clinician, and I bring that to my work and how I speak about those conditions and other conditions like Kamau was talking about earlier. What is it here to teach me? How has it transformed me? That experience totally transformed my life. And now I teach about postpartum depression and psychoses and reproductive challenges and the things that create trauma that are about womb experiences and reproductive journey, plus what I do as a mental health clinician overall. And I just approach the work as a metaphysician and not what they taught me in school only, because that's not enough. And it's part of every aspect of my life, like how I speak to people who are dealing with that. And I'm complete.
So I couldn't come up with a major challenge top of my head that I've overcome. Of course, having children, being married for over 30 years, those are major challenges that I have overcome. Some of the tools that have helped me through those challenges have been going through a rites of passage program such as Be the Tree, have been going through another rites of passage program such as Sacred Women, as well as Landmark. So I've gained tools to add into life and become a part of my lifestyle to help me through any challenges that I'm going through. Traumas, loss. I've experienced major losses. I would say that probably would be some of the most recent challenges that I've gone through, losing my youngest brother, and at the same time, in that same year, 11 additional people in my circle, some in my family and friends. So it was just 2019 was a very, very, very challenging year. And then as soon as I started to get over 2019, we go right into 2020 with the pandemic. So using the tools that I've gained from being grounded in myself, knowing who I am, appreciating my value, which was a big thing that I learned in Be the Tree, my value, and as well as my gifts and my leadership skills helped me to lead my own self out of dark spaces in the trauma that I went through with the loss. And I integrate that into my life daily as I share with others as well as myself. And I'm complete.
Okay. Thank you all. Let's say I'll go with today. A major life challenge was when my father and my mother got divorced, and I was present to witness my father packing his bags. Right, so I was coming home, and he didn't know that or expect me, and so we had this interaction centered around him leaving, and it was a rites of passage for both of us, because I don't think he was really prepared to be in that space to have that conversation, right? And one of the major lessons for me around the work, I think it really started to fuel this rite of passage idea from the standpoint of just being able to transition and help be supportive, particularly of men who were in a space where they needed to be able to have vulnerable conversations and not live out some of their angst, and not be in a space where they were able to explore, examine, interrogate some of their feelings and thoughts and emotions. So I see we're back in space. Welcome back, everybody. So briefly, because we are looking at a short amount of time, we won't be able to get into we'll save the next breakout for another time when we get together. I want to be able to open up the floor right now for people to share their experience around rites of passage, what you've heard from other people who shared, what your thoughts are about looking at your life, whether formal or informal, and the rite of passage experience leaving enduring understandings of what it is that you're here to do in terms of identifying a mission and a purpose. Just giving some of your feedback around what you discussed and your thinking about the conversation and discussion today. Let's see. Veronica, I'm not sure if you were present throughout today, but I'd like to hear from you.
I've been present and listening as I usually do.
Okay.
And, what we experience in our little group is as though we all were experiencing the same thing, but at different life stages. And for me, I shared that my share was that I am in a trauma stage. And I've experienced trauma stages like over and over. I feel like I keep repeating the trauma. And I heal the trauma and then I go back into another trauma situation. And so right now I am, I have my own home, my husband and I'm living in my sewing room. I'm literally staying in my sewing room because I don't want to be in my bedroom. And so the trauma is where I find my peace. Well, I'm in a trauma situation, but I find my peace in my sewing room.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I create this. And I thought about what the sister said about her daughter who goes to, and she drinks herself to sleep or whatever she does in her alcoholic trance, is that I sew myself to sleep. And I listen to television and I do all the things that I do in this space because I don't want to be around my spouse, my husband. And it's just it's like we all have places that we go to hide, and this is where I go to hide. I don't know what else to say.
Wow. I appreciate you sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Idea of the concept of ma'afa, right? There was a statement that the only way out is to go through.
Yes.
And yet the natural inclination in dealing with trauma is to remove yourself from the situation, right? And in your own space, in your own silo, you look to be able to go into this space as a way of being able to console and center yourself and to so the true engagement from the rites of passage framework is to walk through, is to go through. And I know in everybody's own time is when they take on that charge, and that's where your call is at this particular time.
I feel like my call is like I left 21 years ago. I listened to all of everything, and I've identified, I had a rites of passage with a sister Takesha Clinton. And through that rites of passage, I packed up from this house and I moved to Virginia for 2 years, to a rural community in Virginia. And I felt a lot of healing. And I know my issue is that I am a people pleaser. And so my husband wanted me to come back, and he tried for the 2 years, and eventually I said, okay, I'm gonna come back. And I came back to the same type of behavior, but to be a people pleaser, to please him. And so right now, my trauma stage is that I'm no longer pleasing him. I'm no longer in communication. But I have put, and so here it is that I have put so much energy into my home. and to keeping it and to saving it and to be out of paying mortgage. And I feel like my resistance is to not let it, if I walked away again, it would be lost. And my question is, and to myself, not to you, it's a piece of material that's full of all my material things. And how important is it to me? Are these things more important than my peace? And some people can walk away from a home easily, and I am finding a lot of difficulty in walking away at this stage of my life at 66.
Sister, thank you for that courageous share. And thank you, and know that the Wu community is holding space for you at this particular time, and letting you know that, recognize that, you are doing the best for yourself at this time, in terms of being able to self-care and do the things that are keeping you anchored and balanced and aligned. So truly grateful for your medicine today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And open up the floor at this point as we transition, if there are any questions about our discussion today. Truly thankful for our co-creation and the powerful shares of people giving their testimony and their narrative of their phases and stages of the rite of passage. So I'm opening the floor. We might have time for two or three questions. Well, thank you, Sister Zakia. I believe we've established the date in September. When I'm supposed to be coming back. That was the question, when are you coming back? So I don't know the exact date, but I know it'll be in September.
Brother Kamau, I want to jump in with a few comments from Facebook.
Okay.
So Jem McBean L shared that her major challenge was ending her marriage to a man who was unemployed. It was a rite of passage being single again. And looking back, she said, looking back, I realized that the experience strengthened me as I moved on in life.
Powerful. Thank you for that.
And then Teresa Plaskett says, my relationship with my son remains to be a significant rite of passage. For some time, he was totally out of communication, didn't know where he was living, etc. That was a challenging, sad, and difficult time. Made me question who I was as a mother, and then who I was as a woman. Prayer, therapy, be the tree, wake up every Blue Nile. I'm present to, he is going through his own rites of passage, his own journey. It isn't my choice for my life, but trusting God, trusting that God has him covered. Trusting in that, I'm learning to be gentle and show myself real grace.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very powerful. Many respects, it has all been written, right? And so these trials, especially from the indigenous standpoint, is according to why it is that we came here and what it is that we needed to learn. And some of these experiences that live in the trauma and liminality are really ways to activate the memory. And going through some of these ordeals that we go through, helping to cultivate the gifts, the purpose, the memory, and so that we are able to fulfill our mission here.
Lastly, I want to share from Sarah Dahlia. She says, a challenge I overcame was to shift an emotion I harbored for 3 decades towards my father. I have a major hatred for him. I blame him for subjecting me to be physically abused and psychologically abused, making me vulnerable to depression and perceived failure in life. I consider this a rite of passage because I am now entering a phase of life where I need to take personal responsibility. And what did the experience teach you? She said, the hatred consumes me to the point which I no longer recognize myself I no longer have personal responsibility for my own life. And how she integrates the lesson is whenever my thoughts veer into my hatred for him, I remind myself of what I can do to take ownership for my current mood and situation.
Wow. If that's not wisdom, right? To the personal ownership of being able to take full responsibility and recognizing that, you are the sole one that's responsible for your own sense of well-being. Salutations for that share. Thank you. Okay. So we are at 8:32 and know that we are looking to transition. I'm available to take 3 questions before we move on and conclude our session today.
Yes, this is Teresa. I just feel like this session is so healing for me, and I thank you, Brother Patel, for bringing up these talks and these different things, because it's like everyone is just saying so much stuff that where I'm living at right now, and I just feel like Wu is such a blessing. I wish that more people would be on here so they could get well and do better in their life. And I just thank you for all the facilitators that comes on here, because it is really life-giving to us. And I thank Shawnee for her listen to her spirit and continue to keep it going on, because our lives are being changed because she's saying yes every day. So my prayer is that she stays strengthened and healed, and everyone else, and that whatever monies that they needed is met. So this continue, because people's lives are being changed, and you're able to be vulnerable in here and be honest with yourself and not play games with yourself on here. So I love this space, and I just thank everyone that's on here, because it's really needed in this world right now with everything that's coming at our lives. We need a place where we can get healed, and get well, and I know it's that everyone who comes on here just brings so much healing, including the Wake Up family, not just the facilitators. And I just want to tell you, thank you so much for this day. I really do appreciate it.
Ashe, and thank you for your contribution to the space and your voice and your narrative and your testimony. You contribute to the power of the healing space, sister. And so we thank you, Sister Teresa, as well as everyone, whether you are vocal or in the chat. Your presence here is necessary for being able to allow us to walk through and cross through these thresholds together, right? And being reflective about our own journey and making decisions about what our now and tomorrows look like. So any other questions we have? Is 8:34.
We have a hand raised beyond Monsanto. You can come
Sister
on.
Dion, the queen herself. How you doing, sister?
I'm good. Happy to see you.
Likewise.
Blessings to you and your family. It's different. I think it was wonderful, everything, and looking at all the different rites of passage. You've been present for some of mine, and looking at, I guess, I'm at a phase where it's comfortable for me, but offering support for others. So I guess I'm curious about, I shared in our group that we literally had a sister circle last night for a young sister in an abusive relationship. And she doesn't realize she's in an abusive relationship. So I guess it's more a question about, so in supporting someone that's not ready to leave, and what are different ways we can continue to be present for her. She's 23, her partner is 32, and it's not my child, but it's one of my extended babies.
Right.
And so she's just like, I just have to figure this out for myself. He threw her into a table, so her scars are not clear. They're on her legs. The table broke, and they're going to court, and there's all these different things. So just talking it out and hearing what are other things to say or present to her. She's heard the stories of other people that have died in abusive relationship. She's heard, she helped one of her girlfriends get out of an abusive relationship. And I love the framing of, okay, this is a rites of passage for her, but I'm also seeing it's a rites of passage for her mother and for me, and like, how do we support each other through it? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Right. You know, sometimes, and this won't be the most logical piece of it, but, you know, there's certain things that I don't know if the logical human cognitive process can really help to address what the wound might be. And I know that you have experience with ritual and being able to potentially do something in a way that allows for the community to support her in a ritual fashion, and being able to address her issues from the core of aligning it with spirit or elemental
Yeah.
forces that will be able to support in being able to identify and locate within the body where some of the pain memory might live, and where that pattern of whatever that might be in terms of you know, inheritance or surroundings in terms of culture, where those attachments might lie. I feel like that would be a good space, and then some downloads and potential plan could potentially come from that space.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Shay, thank you. Great to see you, sister.
Yes.
All right, we will look at one more question. If anybody has in administration, if you see anything in the chat. And if not, you know, again, I want to take the time to thank you for this powerful co-creation and the synergy that took place. Sister Amal, is your hand?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
I'm already open. You know what? I just want to recommend it to the whole group, because I'm getting doing a deep dive into Ho'oponopono, where we go into a chant or prayer for healing. And maybe, Dion, that's something that you guys can do, because if it's in front of you and it's a wound, go into yourself to see where where you are responsible for that being present, and forgive it in yourself. That's a strong practice. Ho'oponopono. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you is the chant. I'm done.
Thank you, sister. Thank you, Sister Amal, for that share. So, administration, your guidance now is, do I share the complimentary offer?
Yes, I will pull it up for you.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you, brother. All right. So, Wu family, you know, this is what I'm offering today. 2 complimentary consultations for an individual or organization interested in customizing a rites of passage for their respective communities. And if I may share, the last time that we've done this, some of the requests allowed us to co-create again, you know, and experiences that, you know, I've never necessarily envisioned in terms of the consultancy. So if you happen to be able to engage with me, then and your inquiry allows me to tap into a resource and reservoir of infinite possibilities.
Okay, wonderful, Kamau. And in the pre-session, you give us 2 numbers you wanted to choose for the winners, 5 and 9. And in preparation for choosing those numbers before they got jumbled again, I thought when I saw them, I was like, wow, that's kind of like a divine order. And I'm going to honor that. So at that time, number 5 was Althea Charles. Althea, could you come off mute and accept, please? the offer.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited. I was actually thinking about contacting you as well. So I'm super excited for this experience.
Wonderful. Likewise, looking forward to connecting, sister.
Yes.
I feel the excitement in your voice out there.
Yeah.
Yes, and the number 9, winner number 9 at that time, and I thought it was pretty divine that Dion, that then you came on and to speak right after I chose. I looked at the winners. So number 9 is you, Dion, and you can choose to accept the offer or give it as a gift if you choose.
No, that would be awesome. I'm definitely a yes.
All right.
Oh.
Wonderful, wonderful. Looking forward to it, Sister Dion.
Yes, Madasi.
Okay. All right, I will share your contact info. I see there's a recipient has to have 5 days to contact Kamau and claim their offer. So here is your contact, Kamau.
Yes, for Facebook, Kamau Ptah. On Twitter, I'm at Jimbei69. And my email is aquabin41@gmail.com. And that is probably the best way to contact via email.
Awesome. It's also in the chat, so the winners, make sure you copy those emails.
Okay, and for those who make a love offering and donations today, it's through Zelle, QuickPay, SOW Leadership Development at gmail.com. Right, and the Cash App, $ Spirit of a Woman, and the code is number 386KP. Right. Okay, and so as we move on and start off our powerful strong, so tomorrow, August 9th, Fix Your Focus, facilitated by Sister Tirza Barnes Griffith. And then on Tuesday, August 10th, Self-Transformation into Who You Really Are, facilitated by Nefertiti Ankra Lashley. All right, so, being up and bright and early, join the Wu family for another powerful session.
Okay, I'll take it over from here. At this time, we would like to welcome any new members to the Wu family. If you are on Facebook and you're watching us for the first time, this is just a couple days that you've been here. We'd like you to announce that by posting in the chat. And you can do the same if you're new here in the Zoom space. Let us know that you are here. Let us know you're with us. Let us know that you are committed to join and be part of this family of transformation. Share in the chat and our community will welcome you. And again, if you're new, this is our schedule. And if you're not new, here's the schedule. Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. That's our 90-minute session. And on Mondays and Wednesdays, we have a 7 to 7:30, a little bit shorter session, but just as juicy. And we're always streaming live on Facebook. For alerts to our sessions and special offers and activities that we may have coming up, you can text Wu Nation to the number 74121. Again, text Wu Nation to 74121, and we'll add you to our list. Show your love for Wu. Wu swag. Our Wu Nation swag is available. bit.ly/Wu swag. And there you can find your mask, t-shirts. We have a nice water bottle there, mugs, again, sweatshirts, and other new goodies that we're adding. So let's see Woo in the streets. Get your Woo swag, bit.ly/Woo swag family. And thank you so much. And here are other ways to stay in touch with us. You can register at bit.ly Wake Up Movement. Again, bit.ly/Wake Up Movement. You can find us on Facebook in our group. Well, we have a page and we have the group. So if you want to register for our private group, that's bit.ly/Woo Community. And we love to have you be part of it, to join us there and be part with us on Facebook. And on Instagram, Wake Up Everybody Virtual. Find us on Instagram there, and on YouTube, bit.ly WUE on YouTube. So that's Woo on YouTube. And our email is info@wakeupseries@gmail.com. info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. And family, I will stop share. We're going to put you on gallery view, and we ask that you shower Kamau with love. This is our love shower for our gratitude for the wisdom and the healing that we were blessed with this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brother Kamau. I appreciate you.
So much.
Yes.
Wonderful session, and it was great to talk to everybody and listen. And thank you for all your
so much.
transparency and
And I may be getting in touch with you.
and
Thank you so
it's
much.
been beautiful again, as always. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Have a good day. Thank
Have a good day, family. Thank you.
Gratitude.
Thanks.
Much love.
Thank
you.
Much love.
So many rights of
You got the power. Wake
Thank
up,
you.
nation. Family. Love y'all. Love you.
Have a blessed day.
Love y'all, family.